governor, and so I was Nikki Who, but you were a little bit more known than I was.
Well, neither one of us was supposed to win, if you
But
remember.
neither one of us was, and that's the power of the people, which I always love. We share, absolutely, that is always the power of the people. So we share something else in common, in that we are children of immigrants. How do we handle immigration reform?
Well, we don't.
How do we handle immigration reform without dividing our country, without forgetting the fact that the reason this country is so great is because the fabric of our country is from legal immigrants? How do we have that conversation and have reform?
Well, it begins by acknowledging we have 3 immigration problems. We don't just have one, we have 3. Number 1, we are the most generous country in the world when it comes to immigration. 1 million people a year legally immigrate to the United States. There isn't a single country in the world that comes close to that number. And yet, despite the fact that we are so generous, there are still people coming illegally. Number 2, we have a broken legal immigration system. Our legal immigration system today is built on whether or not you have a relative living here. Not whether you have a skill or a talent or you're going to open a business. It is primarily built on whether or not you have a relative living here. And number 3, you do have 11 or 12 million people in this country illegally. And almost half of them came here legally and overstayed a visa. And you have to deal with all 3 of them. Now, I can tell you from experience, we're not going to fix it all in one big piece of legislation for 2 reasons. Number 1, the issue is too complex. And number 2, the American people have had some terrible experiences with massive pieces of legislation. The only way forward is a 3-step process. Step number 1, before you do anything else, you must prove, not just pass a law that says you're going to do it, you must prove to the American people that illegal immigration is truly under control. And we can do that. It begins by securing the southern border through a wall and through more personnel, but you can't stop there. It's not enough. That alone will not be enough. You also need a mandatory E-Verify system, and you need an entry-exit tracking system to prevent people from overstaying visas. After you've done that, the second step will be to modernize our legal immigration system, so that when we admit someone to this country permanently, it will be on the basis of what can they do, what can they contribute, not what relative do they have living here. And more importantly, on the basis of whether they're coming to live in America or coming to be an American. Because we want to bring people here to be an American.